Hello everybody and welcome to day 2 of my birthday marathon, I guess you could call it, where I'm doing a series of videos of my favourite songs from any genre. I put up a poll on Facebook and my YouTube community tab asking, what theme should I do for my birthday series of videos, as I seem to do every year. And overwhelmingly it was favourite songs from any genre, and that was closely followed by favourite bands of any genre. And since the two kind of go together, we sort of really mixed it together. And because it was such a difficult task to whittle down a list of favourite songs, I'm trying to do 2 videos a day for the next 7 days, so should be, in theory, 14 videos. Of my favourite songs from any genre. That could be anything from classical, opera, country, pop, rock, electronica, metal, what have you. And I'm trying to vary it up a bit, so like each day we have one metal song and one non-metal song. And today I'm going to be looking at Depeche Mode. Now, I'm sure many people are familiar with who Depeche Mode are. I mean, they have been going for a very, very long time, and they are still going, as far as I recall, I think. Anyway, but I'm going to be looking at a favourite track of mine that I don't think actually gets as much recognition as it deserves. Because everybody goes for Enjoy the Silence, which is a track I absolutely adore. I absolutely love that track. And, there's all these other tracks by Depeche Mode that everybody looks at, but everybody seems to overlook the track Blasphemous Rumours, which is one of my absolute favourites. I remember hearing this when I was just a small kid, and it always stuck with me. So Depeche Mode, for anybody who might not know, are an English electronic band from Basildon, Essex, formed in 1980, the same year that I was born. They originally formed by David Graham, Martin Gore, Andy Fletcher and Vince Clarke, although currently the band only consists of Graham and Gore. So, they released their debut album in 1981 amid the sort of British new wave scene. And it sort of fitted in at the time with that whole sort of thing like the Human League and stuff like that. And I don't know, for some reason it always sort of felt like Depeche Mode were a little bit of an alternative band, but not really. I don't know why they sort of stuck out in that sort of sense. And yeah, they've always been an interesting band. And like I said, Blasphemous Rumours, I think, is a vastly overlooked song, but it's actually got such a story to the lyrics. It's quite a disturbing track in a way that some people actually might find disturbing, because it does cover some very sensitive subjects. So if anybody is of a sensitive disposition to that sort of thing, it might be worth looking away now. But yeah, like I said, this is a song that really sort of stuck with me since I first heard it years and years and years ago. So we'll jump into it and have a look. But before we do that, if you could just take a moment to like and subscribe, it really would help me out. It would really help the channel out, as it is not even 2% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed. And, it's kind of disheartening, and it really would make the biggest difference to me. It really would help the channel out. But yeah, let's have a look at this track. So, Blasphemous Rumours by Depeche Mode. Let's go.
a note again. 16 candles burn in her mind. She takes the blame, it's always the same. She goes down on her knees and prays. I don't want to start any blasphemous rumors, but I think that God's got a sixth sense of humor, and when I die, I expect to find him laughing.
There we go. Blasphemous Rumours by Depeche Mode. Now, like I said, this has got quite a heavy subject matter going through it. You know, it's quite a depressing song, really. But the actual performance of the song, I think, is great. I mean, I like what they did with the video. They showed all the unconventional ways that they created the music. You know, because, you know, like I said, it was they were sort of right at the beginning of the whole new wave sort of movement, the sort of what people nowadays would call emo sort of era, way back in the 80s, when you had things like Human League and that sort of thing. All the name of the bands just went straight out of my head, but you know what I'm talking about. You know, so this was around that sort of area. So they were electronica, but they were also emo, as it were. And one thing that really sort of works for me is the way that they demonstrated all the different kinds of ways that they created the music. Like, they had a guy with a mallet hitting some corrugated iron. They had a guy sticking drumsticks in wheel spokes and just spinning the wheel to get the click, click, click sound. They were throwing pans downstairs to get certain sounds. You know, it's interesting the way that they show that sort of thing, because that creating music that sort of way became popular again, sort of not so long ago. You know, we had other bands doing that sort of thing, you know. But, you know, I've always found this band interesting because they were a weird sort of mix between the sort of almost gothic sort of period, like things like The Cure and stuff like that, and the sort of electronica with a little bit of emo thrown in the middle. You know, they were an interesting combination. And that, along with, I can't remember the actual singer's voice. Singer's name. What was his name? Is it Dave Gahan? I can't remember. But, you know, he's got really quite a deep voice, but he's got such a clear voice as well. And, you know, that really adds weight to a lot of what they sing. And I really like it. Now, like I said, the lyrics to this song are quite heavy and could be quite disturbing to people who might have got through the video. Is another warning. They are quite disturbing to some people, a little bit graphic. So if you don't want to hear discussions about suicide attempts and things like that, click away now. So the song opens up, girl of 16, whole life ahead of her, slashed her wrists, bored with life, didn't succeed, thank the Lord, for small mercies. So immediately it goes straight into excuse me, what the song is about. You know, it's a young girl, 16 years of age, is perhaps getting bullied, perhaps struggling, you know, she might be struggling with family. Who knows? You know, she's finding life difficult, so she decides to try and take her own life, and she doesn't manage it, thankfully. Fighting back the tears, mother reads the note again. 16 candles burn in her mind. She takes the blame, it's always the same. She goes down on her knees and prays. So, you know, mother finds the girl's suicide note, you know, and 16 candles burn in her mind. That's sort of like remembering, like, all the birthdays, I suppose, of her daughter. You know, she's thinking, you know, what could have possibly happened, and, you know, remembering all of the good things, all the fun times, you know, remembering all that they've been through in those 16 years. And she takes the blame. You know, it's a very popular thing in... I say popular. It's a common thing in suicide notes where people usually, you know, they normally point out the blame of who it is, you know, that's caused them to do this. You know, whether it be bullies, whether it be families that are dysfunctional and that sort of thing. And no matter who gets blamed, the parent, if there is a parent to observe, you know, they always blame themselves, like, where did I go wrong? Did I not love my child enough? Did I do this, that and the other wrong? You know, there's always that sort of element of what could, you know, where did I go wrong? What could I have done? How could I have made it better? Did I miss something? Did I not see something? Did I not listen to their problems enough? You know, there's always that element of blame that goes back onto the parent when a child tries to take their life. And so she goes down on her knees and prays. Then it goes into the chorus. I don't want to start any blasphemous rumours, but I think that God's got a sick sense of humour, and when I die, I expect to find him laughing. Hold on a sec. So he's like, I don't want to ruffle any feathers here, but this God that you all follow so blindly, that you think is the epitome of all goodness, I think he's really one twisted motherfucker. You know, there is something wrong with that dude, you know, because everybody always says everything happens for you know, these religious people, everything happens for a reason. God has a plan for every one of us. If that were the case, would there be, like, famine across the world? Will there be, like, infant children dying of diseases? Would people, like, paedophiles and stuff exist? Would all of these cruel and horrible things that are happening in the world happen if this God, this almighty being, was really as all-loving as you claim he was? Would he allow that sort of shit to happen? I'd like to hear some religious person's explanation as to why my daughter got cancer in her eyeballs when she was 2 months old. What was God's plan there? What was his reason for that happening? So he doesn't have a plan for us all. He doesn't care. He's just sitting there watching us fuck up. And he's sitting there laughing at it. And he's like, when I die, I expect to find him laughing. So he's going, this is great. Look what you've done. You sat there believing that I was going to help you. You sat there thinking I had a plan for you. Whereas in reality, I'm just sitting there watching you just do stupid, cruel and horrible things. There's a weird sort of contradiction in statements because, like, for example, God created man, put them on Earth. It didn't go as he liked, so he flooded the entire planet to commit mass genocide, which all these religious people seem to forget. So he basically killed everybody on the planet, wiped it clean, and started again because it didn't go the way he wanted to. Because people got free thinking. They started thinking for themselves and that, and he didn't like that. So he started all over again. But if that was really the case, surely he'd have more of a hand in stopping all the bad shit that's happening now. Because I can guarantee that what's happening now is much, much worse than what supposedly happened before the flood that he didn't like. And that's what he's saying. He's got a sick sense of humour. He's taking some weird sort of sadistic enjoyment in watching us live like this. In watching us treat each other this horribly. If God were real, surely he would stop this from happening. That's basically what the song's saying, I think that God's got a sick sense of humour. He's not this amazing, divine, all-loving being that everybody seems to think he is. He's a twisted, sadistic motherfucker who's getting enjoyment from watching us torture and kill each other. Then it carries on. Now, whether or not this is talking about the same girl or a new one, I think it will be the same girl. It says, girl of 18, fell in love with everything, found new life in Jesus Christ, hit by a car, ended up on a life support machine. So again, this is where God's sick sense of humour comes in. This girl sort of fell in love with the world around her. She found herself. She found religion, and it sort of reinvigorated her, made her fall in love with life. She thought everything was coming up roses, everything was wonderful. And then, cruel fate, she gets hit by a car and ends up on a life support machine. So again, this comes back into God being a sick, twisted motherfucker. This girl's just turned around and gone, I found the Lord, I'm happy, life is beautiful. And he's going, I don't fucking think so. Swallow a car. It's a weird, sadistic sort of look at things. It's like, this God is supposed to be an all-loving being, even though he kills more people than anybody else in the Bible. He kills over 10 million people. And he's supposed to be the epitome of all good and love. Satan kills 10 people, God kills 10 million. Who's really the evil fucker? And he's going, right, this girl, she's found religion. She's now happy with life. So now I'm going to ruin it. A summer's day, as she passed away, birds were singing in the summer sky. Then came the rain, and once again a tear fell from her mother's eye. So, the mother's sitting there by her daughter's bedside, watching as her daughter dies, after finding happiness finally. Her daughter's finally found happiness. She's moved on from when she tried to take her own life 2 years ago. They've probably had a closer relationship since then, possibly. Her mother's sitting next to her daughter's bed now, watching her die after she's become happy and contented with life. It's sick and it's twisted. And then it goes back into that chorus. I don't want to start any blasphemous rumours, but I think that God's got a sick sense of humour, and when I die, I expect to find him laughing. And that gets repeated until the song fades out. So, you know, I think this is a hugely underrated song, because like I said, everybody talks about all of their other tracks, but this one always seems to get overlooked. You know, even when you look at Depeche Mode's Greatest Hits album, this song is not on it. And I can't understand why, because it is such a good song. You know, the music is really interesting, you know, in the way that it's composed, like I said, with all those unusual elements like the hammer on the corrugated steel, the drumsticks in the bike spokes, the pans going down the stairs. You know, it's interesting. You know, the vocal performance is really interesting. The story that it's telling is interesting. You know, it's actually got a meaning and a story behind it. And I think it's a criminally overlooked song, because like I said, everybody looks at songs like Enjoy the Silence, which, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that song. I think it is an absolutely fantastic song. And I almost went with that song when I chose this list, but I decided to go for Blasphemous Rumours because it is one of my favourite Depeche Mode songs, and it is criminally overlooked, and not enough people give it the credit it deserves. And yeah, I think it's a fantastic song. What more can I say? I don't know. So I'll leave it at that. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like or a subscribe if you haven't already, because it really, really would help the channel out. You know, as it stands, I've been doing this for about 6 years, and only 2% of people, not even 2% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, which is a little bit disheartening, you know, because I put a lot of time and effort into doing this, and I like to think I bring something different than most other reactors do, you know, because they'll look at a song and go, yeah, I like it, I don't like it, that's it, move on. Not very few reactors actually talk about the bands, talk about the songs, talk about the themes and stories behind the music, and I like to think that I bring that element to it. You know, I bring something different and interesting, so, you know, maybe help people understand songs in a different way than they did before. Maybe, you know, they didn't actually take the time to look into what the song meant, you know. So, you know, I like to think I do something different from other people, and I'd hope that people would enjoy that. So, you know, if you could like and subscribe, it really, really would help me out. You know, it takes a fraction of a second, it doesn't cost you anything, and it would make the biggest difference. But that's all I've got for you for this video. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
I don't want to start any blasphemous rumours, but I think